"We've always been close, intimate even." Those weren't just words ripped from some gossip column, they came straight from Markus Anderson's own lips, the man once whispered about as Meghan Markle's other half. And when those words slipped into the public, they didn't just cause a stir, they ripped the glitter off the royal fairy tale the world thought it knew. This wasn't some petty rumor, this was an earthquake, a confession that cracked open a world built on silk smiles, PR-perfect photos, and carefully curated lies. Because if what Markus said was true, then Meghan's royal love story wasn't a clean slate at all. It was built over something old, something that refused to die. Before Harry, before the tiaras and tears, there was Markus. And Markus wasn't just another friend. He was the architect of Meghan's rise, her mirror, her motivator, and maybe the one man she never fully left behind. Markus Anderson wasn't born into privilege. He built his power, piece by piece, not through money, but through people. He had this quiet charm that made powerful men trust him and famous women need him. His real breakthrough came when he landed at Soho House, that glittering private world where champagne, secrets, and celebrity mingled freely. And that's where it all began, where Markus met Meghan Markle. Back then, she was just a driven actress shooting suits in Toronto. Not a duchess, not yet, just Meghan, ambitious, hungry, magnetic. And Markus? He saw something in her immediately. A spark that could be molded, magnified, marketed. Their bond was instant. Not romantic at first, but intimate in a way words can't quite capture. He opened doors she couldn't even knock on, introduced her to designers, producers, and the kind of names that made careers. He knew how the game worked, and she played it better than anyone he'd ever met. Soon, the two became inseparable. Jet-setting across Madrid, Istanbul, London, always together, always polished. They didn't need words. A glance was enough. Friends described their connection as electric, as if they shared a private language the rest of the world wasn't invited to learn. Markus wasn't just Meghan's friend. He was her anchor, the man behind her image, her strategist, her confidant. And whether she'd admit it or not, he was the one who made her feel untouchable. Fast forward to 2016. Meghan's career was glowing, but her ambitions, oh, they were bigger than Hollywood. She wanted influence, legacy, royalty. And it was Markus Anderson who made the introduction that would change her life. He arranged Meghan's stay at Soho Farmhouse, a private, quiet retreat in Oxfordshire, the very place where she'd meet Prince Harry for the first time. Some call it fate, others whisper it was pure orchestration. Because Markus didn't just open that door, he built the hallway that led to it. That night, after meeting Harry, Meghan called Markus like a teenager giddy from her first crush. "He's different," she told him. Markus only replied, calm and measured. "Then make sure he sees the version of you the world doesn't." That single sentence, that subtle push, set the royal love story in motion. But behind the smiles and headlines, a triangle had silently formed. Harry saw Meghan as his escape, his chance at a normal life. Markus saw her as his creation, the masterpiece he'd molded from ambition and charm. And Meghan, she was standing right between them. At first, Harry liked Markus. He was funny, polished, and understood Meghan's world. But soon he began to notice things that didn't feel right. Whenever Markus walked into a room, Meghan's entire energy changed. She glowed differently, laughed louder, softer, freer. Around Markus, she wasn't the Duchess. She was herself. And for a man already haunted by insecurity and loss, it planted a seed Harry couldn't ignore. Markus was everywhere, from secret trips to pre-wedding dinners, from the engagement celebrations to the very front rows of the royal wedding. He wasn't an outsider, he was family. But palace staff started whispering, late-night calls, hidden messages, private lunches that didn't quite add up. One aide overheard Harry snapping, "Why does he still need to be around?" And Meghan, cold and calm, shot back, "Because he's the only one who's never left." Those 8 words burned deeper than any argument could. Even after their move to America, Markus's shadow followed. He was there at the baby shower, the dinners, the quiet Brentwood nights. And when a journalist later caught Markus off guard over drinks, the words he said changed everything. People think the story ended when she married Harry. It didn't. It just changed form. He didn't deny anything, he didn't correct the rumors, and then he disappeared, but it was too late. His words had already escaped. "We've always been close, even after Harry." The quote hit tabloids like a bombshell. In hours, every photo, every timeline, every old glance between Meghan and Markus was dragged back into the light. Inside Buckingham Palace, the silence was suffocating. Phones buzzed. Aides panicked. Legal teams scrambled. But there was no stopping it. The confession was everywhere. Prince Harry went completely quiet. For days, not a single word. Then came anger. Then heartbreak. He wasn't mad at Markus. He was mad at himself for not seeing it. Every text Meghan had deleted too quickly, every private lunch, every softened smile. When Markus's name came up, they all replayed in his head like scenes from a nightmare. For Meghan, the headlines were torture. She denied it all, calling it a twisted attempt to destroy her family. But behind closed doors, she couldn't stop what Markus had already done, and he refused to clarify or retract his words. The royal PR team called it containment. But how do you contain a ghost of truth? In their Montecito mansion, the fairy tale began to crack. Harry couldn't sleep. He started pacing the garden at night, replaying the past over and over. Meghan would find him staring out the window, lost in memories that hurt too much to speak aloud. Then one night, he stumbled on an old folder in Meghan's laptop full of photos from Toronto, and there, in picture after picture, stood Markus, smiling, holding her shoulder, always there. Harry packed a bag before dawn. By sunrise, he was gone, checked into a quiet Aspen retreat to clear his head. It was the first real distance between them since the royal exit. And in the California mansion they'd built on love and privacy, Meghan was left alone to face the one question she'd never dared to ask herself. Had she really moved on from Markus Anderson? Or had she just rewritten the story to hide him? While Harry and Meghan's marriage wobbled in silence, the British establishment was in full panic mode. For years, they'd been rebuilding, polishing the royal image after Megxit, trying to project a sense of calm and progress. But now, the headlines weren't about racism or royal protocol. They were about intimacy, betrayal, emotional secrets. Behind palace doors, aides worked late into the night drafting statements, reviewing NDAs, and digging through digital trails. This isn't about Meghan anymore, one advisor reportedly warned. It's about what he might know. And they were right, because Markus wasn't just a socialite, he'd been inside their private circle. He'd seen and heard things no outsider should. He'd flown on their jets, sat in their homes, and attended events even some royals weren't invited to. If one confession could do this much damage, what would happen if Markus spoke again? Prince William was said to be furious. "We survived the Oprah fallout," he snapped to a Cordon's staffer. "But this makes us look like fools. For once, the monarchy wasn't undone by rebellion or politics, but by a single man from outside their world who knew too much." And in that chilling realization, Buckingham Palace understood. Markus Anderson's silence was more dangerous than his words. Every story has its price. For Meghan, it was peace. For Harry, it was trust. And for Markus, the man who lit the match, it was his reputation. After the chaos, he faded quietly into the background. Spotted in London cafes, always calm, always smiling, that knowing smile that made people wonder, what else does he know? As for Meghan and Harry, they smiled for cameras, holding hands at charity events, pretending everything was fine. But insiders whispered something had changed forever. Their love was still there, but it was different now. Guarded, fragile, an invisible line neither dared to cross again. Meghan's once glittering circle shrank. Her calls became fewer, her friends more distant. And Markus, the man who had once been her world, vanished into quiet anonymity. The public moved on, chasing new scandals. But the question never faded. Was Markus telling the truth? Or was it his way of freeing himself from the woman he could never truly have? Maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. Because what his confession exposed was bigger than him, bigger than Meghan, bigger than the crown itself. It revealed a truth too human to deny, that behind every royal story, every perfect photo, every happily ever after, are just people fragile, flawed, desperate to be loved, and terrified of being forgotten. And sometimes, it only takes one sentence to bring the whole illusion crashing down. Months rolled by, but the air around Meghan and Harry never quite cleared. Their smiles returned for the cameras, yes, but they carried that stiffness of people pretending they'd healed when, deep down, the wounds still pulsed beneath the surface. Behind closed doors, Meghan became quieter. She stopped answering certain calls. Old friends noticed how she no longer laughed the way she used to, that carefree, echoing laugh she once shared with Markus during those wild Soho nights. Harry, meanwhile, poured himself into causes, flying to events, giving speeches about mental health, but everyone close to him could tell his mind was elsewhere. Every time a photo of Markus surfaced online, just a candid shot outside a London cafe, Harry's expression would harden, his jaw tighten. Markus, for his part, stayed silent. No interviews, no denials. Just that same composed smile that said everything and nothing at all. Some said he'd been paid off. Others whispered that he'd simply moved on, tired of the noise. But those who truly knew him insisted something else, that he was protecting Meghan in his own quiet way, keeping darker truths buried out of some twisted form of loyalty. Inside royal circles, the panic never fully faded. Every few weeks, a report would surface about a new revelation coming, something Markus might have said to someone, somewhere. The palace would scramble, lawyers would prepare, and then nothing. Just silence again. It became a pattern, a haunting rhythm of fear and waiting. For Meghan, the greatest punishment wasn't the gossip, it was the mirror. Every morning she'd look at herself and wonder which version the world saw, the Duchess of Sussex or the woman Markus had helped build. Harry once told a friend, "She's still fighting ghosts that never left the room." And maybe that's the cruelest truth of all, that love stories, even royal ones, rarely end cleanly. They leave behind echoes. And Markus Anderson's echo still lingers in whispered mentions, in frozen smiles, in the uneasy silence that falls whenever his name is spoken aloud, because in the end, every secret has a heartbeat. And this one, it's still beating.